on. Good morning, everyone. We'll get started in a couple of minutes here.
Good morning, CALGreen workshop participants. For the record, my name is Enrique M. Rodriguez, Associate Construction Analyst for the California Building Standards Commission. And with me this morning are a few BSC staff members that I'll introduce shortly. Thank you for giving the Building Standards Commission the opportunity to conduct the second CALGreen Electric Vehicle Work Group CEVW meeting as part of the 2025 intervening code adoption cycle. For the record today is September 4th, 2025, and today's meeting is scheduled from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Notice is hereby given that the California Building Standards Commission staff have convened a CALGreen Electric Vehicle Work Group meeting comprised of interested parties and state agencies to provide input and feedback for future EV regulations in CALGreen. The proposed regulatory updates may be considered for inclusion in the 2025 California Green Building Standards Code Part 11 during the 2025 intervening code cycle. The public is invited to participate and provide input and comments. Today's meeting is available via Zoom and teleconference, as noted in the workshop notice and agenda. This meeting will also be live streamed on the CBSC YouTube channel. Please be advised, be aware the live stream has an approximate 45-second delay, and there is no method for offering verbal or written public comment. Closed captioning is available via Zoom's automated live transcriptions. To view closed captions in Zoom, click on the CC Live Transcript button. Closed captioning will automatically appear if you are watching via YouTube. The meeting materials may be viewed on CBSC's website as listed in the agenda notice. Now, Ms. Laura Mills will read the Zoom and telephone instructions.
Good morning, everyone. To avoid feedback or other technical issues, please join the meeting through one device only. Comments will first be taken from the public in Zoom with their hands raised, then from the public on the Zoom phone line, if any. If you wish to make a comment on a specific agenda item, please listen for CBSC staff to ask for any comments from the public. At this time, please virtually raise your hand using the raise hand icon in Zoom. You will be recognized by Enrique in the order your hand was raised. Actually, you'll be recognized by me. At this time, please unmute yourself. When you are done speaking, please remember to lower your hand and mute yourself. Please ensure that you have a working microphone on or attached to your device prior to raising your hand to make a comment. CBSC staff will continue through the queue until there are no raised hands remaining, then take comments from the public on the Zoom phone line. At this time, please unmute yourself. When you are done speaking, please remute yourself. When phone comments are complete, we will then proceed to the next agenda item. Please speak slowly and clearly so your comments can be transcribed. If you experience technical difficulties, please call CBSC's office at 916-263-0916. Back to you, Enrique.
Thank you, Ms. Laura. Does anybody have any questions regarding the Zoom instructions before we proceed on to our agenda items?
No hands raised.
Okay, great. At this time, I'd like to do introductions, starting from the two BSC staff that are here in this conference room. And then we'll proceed on with anybody on the meeting that would like to introduce themselves, especially if you're new to this work group. I'd like to put you on record and please introduce yourself and who you represent. So I'm going to start off here to the left. I don't know if they can see you, but
Hi, my name is Timothy O'Malley, California Building Standards Commission. I work with Enrique on CALGreen.
thank you.
And Laura Mills, facilitator of this meeting from CBSC.
Thank you.
Could you drop the screen share so we can see your faces better?
Yeah, you can minimize that, I guess. Is that Bryce? Good morning, Bryce.
Sounded like it.
Good morning, it is Bryce.
Good morning. You can just minimize it. Yeah. I don't know, can you guys see us better? A little bit better?
Yep, you're much bigger. It's great.
Okay, great. Yeah, Bryce, I guess you can introduce yourself since you're already speaking.
Okay, and this is Bryce Nesbitt of EV Plugbox LLC, a multifamily EV charging startup company and technical geek. Hi.
Hi, Bryce. Welcome.
Stoyan?
Good morning. Sorry, I was having a hard time with the Zoom. Stoyan Bumbalov, the Building Standard Commission Executive Director.
Welcome, Sonia.
Mark Rodriguez?
Hello, everyone. My name is Mark Rodriguez. I represent the Solar App Foundation. I'm the Chief Engineering Officer. Thanks.
Good to meet you, Mark.
Kevin?
Good morning, everyone. Kevin Day, Deputy Executive Director, California Building Standards Commission. Nice to see y'all.
Bob, I see you're unmuted, but you don't have your hand raised if you'd like to say hello. Go ahead.
Yeah, Bob Raymer with California BIA, the Apartment Association, Building Owners and Managers, and the Business Properties Association. Thanks.
Good morning, Bob.
Howdy.
Julie?
My name is Julie Burbrick. and I'm with the California Energy Commission. Though I'm not here to represent the Energy Commission, I am here to follow along and track the progress of these regulations as an internal tracking system within the CEC. Nice to meet you.
Welcome, Julie.
Lisa, I see you're unmuted.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm not fully awake this morning. Lisa Rodriguez with the Guaco Group. We represent Latter-day Saints and we have an interest in EVs. So I'm here just to bring back notes for them. Thank you.
Yeah, can you, I'm sorry, can you repeat your name? It was difficult to
Sure.
hear.
Can you hear me right now?
Sure.
Lisa Rodriguez with the Guaco Group. We represent Latter-day Saints.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
No other hands are raised.
Okay, that's we're gonna move on. Now we're gonna share the screen. We're moving on to agenda item 1B. And the goal of this is pertaining to our charter that we have, our standing charter. The goal of the CEVW work group is to garner participation from all interested parties and affected stakeholders in the rulemaking process to inform participants of the roles and responsibilities of the agencies, stakeholders, and the public, and to provide informed, balanced input on CALGreen proposals. This CALGreen electric vehicle work group charter provides information on the objectives and expectations of the work group participants in the development of electric vehicle proposals for the 2025 intervening code cycle. So I'd like to, Ms. Laura, if you can pull the charter real quick. I just wanted to talk about a couple. So this charter has been updated and it's available obviously on the website. I just wanted to just briefly touch on a couple, not all of the BSC's responsibilities, roles and responsibilities, but just I'm going to just talk about 4 of them. And I think that's in the charter. You download the charter? Anyway, I'll just
It's right
quickly
here.
describe. Yeah, it's under.
I am. Oh, hang on.
Yeah.
Sorry, I need to share.
Yeah, we'll share the.
I'm gonna get it right now.
Yeah, it's page 1 of 9.
Yep. Chart. There.
Yeah, right there.
Okay.
Perfect. Yeah, so BSC's role and authority, the Building Standards Commission has authority, a statutory authority, responsibility, and authority for proposing green building standards in CalGreen, where no other state agency has the authority for occupancies within our authority. BSC is a regulatory code adopting agency and is not an advocacy group. As such, BSC is required to follow the statutory mandated procedures and proposed regulations within their scope of authority and consistent with state law. BSC develops regulations based on executive action, legislative mandate, or a demonstrated need identified by BSC or proposed by others. BSC is not an enforcement entity and delegates the enforcement of adopted non-residential CalGreen codes to local entities, usually local building departments, and for the California State University and University of California to their respective internal enforcing bodies. There's more, but I'll stop there. The other thing that I wanted to share, Ms. Laura, if you can move on to, let's go to page 5.
Of the charter.
Of the charter. Yeah, I just wanted to we made some amendments to the charter from the prior meeting, and I just wanted to make sure that everybody knows the entities or members that have been added to the charter. And we have a state agency, the California Department of Public Health. This Julie Lee has been added. And then moving on to page 6, for some reason it's not showing up.
Oh.
Yeah, go to
Sorry, that's me.
that's okay. we're just gonna project it on the screen real quick. Actually, it's gonna be page 7. If you can move on to page 7, that was great.
Sure.
Computer's a little slow today. Okay. So page number 7, I think it's maybe towards the bottom. It'll be the next one, right there. So as you can see from the underlined text, these are the folks that have been added, that requested to be added from our first meeting. And so we have some folks from Green Building Council, some from the San Diego Unified School District, Siemens, ChargePoint, and Generac Power. So some folks have been added in companies. So basically, that's all I wanted to share as an update to the charter. This,
You probably want to mention if there's anybody else that wants to.
yeah, is there anybody, good point, anybody that would like to be added to this charter? I saw some new, met some new folks today. I don't know if you want to be added to this charter. Just let us know and we'll gladly add you to this charter that keeps growing, which is great.
Josh?
Thanks. I may be on the charter. I mean, added already. I saw switch was added. There's a couple different switches, and so the switch I work for is spelled with no vowels, SWTCH. So just wanted to make sure that I don't want to take off the other switch if it is also on, but I want to make sure
Yeah,
that
we have a switch. Is this one a different one? What is this one? Yours?
the one I work for is SWTCH, just to confuse things. Yeah.
See, oh, so it's a little different. Okay, we'll add you on there. Not
All
a
right.
problem.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
And you can join our, about the email list.
Yeah, you can always be added to our listserv so you can get notices on all our meetings at BSE. Anybody else that would like to get added to this charter?
Yes, please. Mark Rodriguez from the Solar Out Foundation.
Okay, Mark.
Thank you.
Say that again, please.
Mark Rodriguez.
What's the company name?
Solar Out Foundation.
Solar.
Foundation. What was it, Mark? What was it? Solar, what was the second word?
Solar App.
App.
Okay, Solar App Foundation.
All one word. Solar App is all one word.
Okay.
Oh my.
Like the application for SB 379. Oh, foundation is the second word. So Solar App Space Foundation.
Okay, got it. All right, anybody else?
Thank you.
Okay. Nobody else? Okay, so if nobody else, then we're gonna moving on to our 2 agenda items. I don't think today's meeting is gonna run very long. We only have two items. So at this point, I'd like to, if no further questions, I'd like to move on to our actual agenda proposed amendments under agenda item 2A. And so we'll project that on the screen right now. Yeah.
You got it. Getting good?
Yeah, thank you, Ms. Laura. Been fantastic. Yeah, let's go zoom in a little bit so everybody can see it. There we go. Maybe zoom in. Can everybody see the proposed changes? Maybe let's stay at the top. Go up a little bit at the top. Yeah, there we go. So there's these proposals are non-substantive. We consider to be non-substantive. But basically, BSC, so BSCCG, we received a comment from the California Energy Commission regarding an amendment to the AL automatic load management system in section 5.106.5.3 with a suggestion to use only 1 unit of measurement and to change from amperes to kW for ALMS systems. So as you can see here on the proposal, well, the first proposal is basically, we're just clarifying the intent of the code. And so we rewrote and simplified the leading paragraph. So you'll say that it basically is newly constructed non-residential buildings shall be provided with electric vehicle infrastructure to facilitate vehicle charging in accordance with. So it's simplifying what's already codified. So this is basically kind of shortening it, make it more succinct. So no change in what we consider regulatory effect there. And then, so that's the main paragraph. And then the next proposal is right above rationale. And this was the suggestion from the Energy Commission, was to change the 30 amperes to 6.2 kW. So just changing to an equivalency from 30 amps to 6.2. We conducted our first workshop on July 2nd, and we received, we obtained feedback, and with a favorable, basically, opinion that that is a good change. So that's our proposal. And just kind of an explanation. So right now, each EVSC controlled by an AMLS shall deliver a minimum of 30 amps to an EV when charging one vehicle, and shall deliver a minimum of 3.3 kW while simultaneously charging multiple EVs. So this specific proposal is to use only one unit of measurement, achieved by converting the 30 amperes calculated at 208 volts to an equivalent of 6.2 kW. The rationale for the change is to standardize the use of terminology to kW instead of amperes. This change will provide clarity by using a single unit of measurement. Furthermore, kW defines the customer experience for charging, not amperage. There are 3 potential voltages for charging standards, such as NACS, 208 volt, 240 volt, and the 277 volt. 240 volt is widely used at residential sites, and 208 volt is widely used at commercial sites, potentially including hotels, motels. Applying a static amperage requirement results in inconsistent levels of delivered energy at each voltage. An additional proposal, and that's basically the rationale for that. BSC staff has determined that the above proposed changes do not materially alter the substance or the intent of the existing code provisions in conformance with Assembly Bill 130 statutes of 2025. Does anybody have any comments pertaining to this agenda item 2A?
Bryce?
I think he's muted.
This is the unmuted version of Bryce Nesbitt, EV Plugbox LLC. And yes, we touch this issue all of the time, and I support the move to the use of kilowatts, though you can also move to the measurement that's used in the electrical code, which is VA, volts times amps. And that would create consistency with the electrical code. So I can show you here that 30 times 208 is 6240, or 6.24 volt amperes, which is close to kilowatts, but volt amperes is a better measurement.
Thank you, Bryce.
But more importantly here with this regulation, the requirement for this minimum delivery does not talk about time of day. Now, the electric cost in California is very different at different times of day. 31 cents during the day and 62 cents during 4 to 9 p.m. And when I design an EVLMS, I program it so it delivers 0 kilowatts until 9 p.m. And I'm not sure this code allows me to do so. We use Energy Star Portfolio Manager to profile a building. we determine how we can get those vehicles charged by morning. And that is what's important to us rather than a specific ongoing kilowatt. So I'm very concerned that this doesn't allow us to do time of day load shifting. And for those who are not familiar, we have something in California called the duck curve, where we have excess generation capacity during the middle of the day. And we want to be able to harvest that by delivering 0 kilowatts at certain times of day, but delivering enough to get people going in the morning. Related to that, the 30 amp minimum creates a problem for some of our buildings. So this is going to be a very difficult chart to understand, but it is 1 dot per 15 minutes for 2 years for 4 apartments. And it shows how much energy they used off their existing electrical service. And this chart allowed us to determine that we could add a 25 amp level of EV charging quite readily without upgrading the electrical service at this building. But we could not add that 30 amp level. There just wasn't quite enough headroom under the calculations. So the difference between this regulation performing a minimum kilowatts is that we have to upgrade the electrical service at this building. However, these people park for an average of 10 hours at their apartment. That lower kilowatt hour delivery level would serve them just fine, meaning their car would be ready to drive completely full in the morning at a lower level because of the long dwell time. I would not extend this to something like a motel occupancy, but for residential overnight occupancy, a lower kilowatt level from the EVLMS is appropriate. So to sum up here, we would like to be able to deliver 0 kilowatt hours at unfortunate times of day. We would like to be able to deliver a number of kilowatt hours in the dwell time rather than be stuck with a particular amperage or kVA. And on the technical note, I think you should probably be using kVA and not kilowatt hours. Any questions on that?
Thank you, Bryce. Does this apply to non-residential occupancies? Because you mentioned housing, so I just want to make sure that the audience knows that this is non-residential occupancies and not apartments or multifamily housing regulations.
Understood. It has to do with dwell time. So if I'm charging cars for employees who are on shift work, and we know that they are going to be there for 8 hours, say, or 9 hours with lunch, then we would calibrate our EVLMS in order to ensure that their cars are full by the time they want to go home. And so really it's trying to create a link between parking lot dwell time and the kilowatt hour measurement. So this is talking about the rate rather than the result.
Okay. Thank you, Bryce. Appreciate your input. Yeah, we have some questions. We've got some raised hands.
Bob?
Go ahead, Bob.
Thank you. Bob Raymer with the California Business Properties Association in BOMA. First, I'd like to say that we support the proposed change by the BSC. And in addition, I realize I understand what Bryce is saying, but this regulation talks about power supply availability that the system can produce, a minimum level. If you've got technology that basically cuts off access to that power supply, that doesn't seem to me like it would be violating this. This is what the system can provide. If you're doing something that basically, judges when or when not EV would access that available power supply, that would seem very permissible, and it's in use today. Thank you.
Thanks, Bob.
Mark?
My comment's very similar to Bob's. I'll bring it down to demand. I think the code language talks about capacity. That's how much you supply to the EVSE, not the demand, not how much you put out of it. So I think if your ALMS is set to not charge during a certain time, that doesn't violate this particular code. I would always think about customer use though. So also to Bob's point, Like if you're shutting it off during the time where that's my shift and I'm there and want to charge because my shift is between 4 and 9, then I don't have access to that charging. So customer use plays an important part, and the actual distribution, the use of the equipment.
Thank you, Mark, for your input.
There are no other hands raised.
Okay, you guys are too easy today. Okay, we're gonna move on to agenda
Oh,
item.
another hand went up.
Okay, sorry.
Go ahead, Dwight.
Good morning. This is Dwight McCurdy with the National Charging Access Coalition. I would just like to ask Bryce for a little bit of an elaboration on his suggestion that kVA be used instead of kilowatts.
So if your power factor is 1.0, then kVA and kilowatts are equivalent. And the electrical code largely speaks about kVA, which is simply volts times amperes, where kilowatts is dependent on the power factor, and different vehicles and different systems have a different power factor. They essentially return some of the electricity to the grid, so they're using less than kVA. kVA is the simpler of those two metrics.
If I could ask further, Bryce. So the suggestion anticipates the power factor of the load, right, of the charging station. But how would an installer or an inspector be able to anticipate the power factor of a charging station unless they actually measure it while it's charging?
They can't, and because the power factor actually depends on the vehicle. And that's why kVA is the more field inspectable number. Anybody can do that calculation. But determining the power factor of a load is voodoo magic.
Right. So I'm just wondering if it is a step too far to ask the installer or the inspector to anticipate a power factor on a load rather than a kilowatt.
That was my point, that if you'd use kVA, then it's very simple to calculate, and there's no question, because there's no difference. kVA tends to overestimate. The actual power factor will be lower than 1.0, but in terms of creating a really field inspectable metric, kVA is simpler, and I think that's why the National Electric Code has moved to kVA in a number of cases. There's a second factor here, that EV circuits are considered continuous loads, meaning they must be operated at no more than 80% of their breaker value. So if you put in a 30 amp breaker, that means you're charging at 25 amps. And similarly with a 40 amp breaker, you're charging at 32 amps. And the number in this particular code sits right between two standard breaker numbers. I would much rather be able to put in a 30 amp breaker for 25 amp charging under that 80% rule, in order to create a nice simple code that lines up with stuff you can actually buy at Home Depot.
Would the installer then just assume a power factor of 1 as part of the process, and the inspector?
If this code goes through as written, then I would assume a power factor of 1 because it's the only simple answer.
Okay, that answers my question. I do think there could be a little bit of clarity by going with kVA that kilowatts doesn't sort of fully address. But anyhow, yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate the input.
Oh, I also spoke incorrectly. I said 25 amps and I meant 24 amps, which is the 80% of 30. We've got to keep it correct.
Yeah.
So this code,
You know what you're saying.
if you interpreted this the right way, it basically says, yeah, this is also a very common confusion in the field, and a very common confusion among DIY installers, but even code officials, is that it's unclear whether you're talking about the breaker size or you're talking about the amperage. I know what you mean, but keep in mind that a lot of people read this stuff.
Thank you, Bryce, for clarification. Any further questions on?
There are no other hands raised.
Okay. All right, so that being said, I'm gonna move on to agenda item 2B. And this is pertaining to code section 1.5.106.5.4, additions and alterations to existing buildings or parking facilities. And BSC CG is proposing to amend section 5.106.5.4, trigger number 2 for additions and alterations to existing buildings or parking facilities. Additionally, there is an editorial change proposed in the main body of main paragraph of this section. So trigger number 2, the purpose of the proposed code change to trigger 2 is to clarify the scoping for new photovoltaic systems that cover existing parking spaces. The specific amendment adds code language to specify that all newly covered parking spaces from a photovoltaic system project shall count towards the EV charging requirements. This is to clarify that existing spaces not covered by the new photovoltaic system project do not count towards the requirements for EV charging. So currently, there's confusion in the regulated community for this number 2 trigger. And we received public comments during the last code adoption cycle, specifically from Peninsula Clean Energy, that there's some jurisdictions out there that are kind of confused and are requiring more charging space requirements than those that are specifically covered or affected by the canopy of the new photovoltaic project. So this is to clarify that. The proposed code amendments add clarifying language to the code applicability and limits the scope of EV charging triggers only apply to covered parking spaces in the photovoltaic projects. The code change will avoid unintended consequences and provides clear intent for the regulated community and the code enforcers. BSC staff has determined that the above proposed changes do not materially alter the substance or the intent of the existing code provisions in conformance with AB 130 statutes of 2025. Does anybody have any comments pertaining to this proposed code amendment by BSC?
Go ahead, Bob.
Yeah, Enrique, this is Bob Raymer with Bowman CBPA, and this is a great clarification of the existing code. I know that both on the enforcement side and on the application side, there were some questions. This takes care of it, so we'll be supporting it. Thanks.
Thank you, Bob. Appreciate your support and input.
Bryce?
I'll also agree that this is the right clarification. When you're installing a new structure, is the perfect and easy time to add solar to it. You're there constructing, you're there digging. And that if the legislative intent had been to force people to add solar to existing parking structures, that's a reasonable thing that someone might do in a REACH code, but it should be separate. So
Yes.
I also think that you're on the right track with this additional sentence.
Yeah, thank you, Bryce. Appreciate it.
There are no other hands raised.
Okay. Well, you folks made it really easy today. So now we're moving on basically to agenda item 3, which is EV related items on the agenda. I personally don't have any, but it's just it's something that is. Does anybody have any EV related items that are not on the agenda? This is your opportunity to speak. Thank you. But yeah, they know it's for non-residential.
Non-resident.
Yeah.
Michelle?
Hi, I'm Michelle Pierce. I'm with National Charging Access Coalition. I think that's what it stands for, NCAC, sorry. Anyway, I want to thank you for continuing to include us in these sessions and to listening to us, even though we don't always agree between us. We, it's great that we can work together and come up with solutions and get gas cars off the road, basically. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle, for your support and participation.
Grant.
Hi, Grant Alpert from 2050 Partners. We work with utilities to do code and standards advancements, and I just wanted to bring up a petition that we'll be submitting shortly to add a DC fast charger minimum capacity, and we're planning on submitting 40 kVA to align with conversations that we've had and other reasons. The reason that we want to submit the petition is because there's no minimum currently listed in the code. And then secondly, there will also be part of the petition referring to a socket outlet charger. So just wanted to say that we'll be doing that. And I think this is a great opportunity for California to be at the leading edge of code and EV infrastructure. And thanks again for your time, and thanks for listening to the feedback that we've all given.
Thank you, Grant. Appreciate it.
Mark.
Hi, everybody. If it's time for shameless plugs, this would be my time, I guess. The Solar App Foundation was recently awarded a grant with the California Energy Commission to develop automated permitting for residential EVSE and virtual inspections. Since this is a group of people that are interested in EVSE, sounds like permitting and inspections and installations, I would extend an invitation to members of this group. If anyone is interested in participating in a technical advisory committee, which means you would be reviewing the work that the Solar App Foundation has been granted by the CEC to perform. So working with the software to make a case for automated permitting for EVSE and virtual inspections, please reach out to me. My email would be mark@solarappfoundation.org or mark@gosolarapp.org if anyone's interested.
Thank you, Mark, for that information.
Thank you.
Bryce.
Hello, Bryce Nesbitt, again with EV Plugbox LLC. And there are a number of items that could have been on today's agenda that I think would have been valuable. There is a proposal out from Pacific Gas and Electric Company in Southern California, Edison, to early adopt certain aspects of the 2026 electrical code, which would allow us to put EV chargers and electrification into existing buildings without the need to upgrade the electrical panels. And these applications are, this is an item that has been, that is ready to go. So I would like to encourage BSC to adopt that item. Second, within the CALGreen and there are provisions that exempt mechanical access parking lifts from EV charger requirements on ADA grounds. These are obsolete and not necessary, and the industry has been very clear that they can accommodate ADA on any mechanical access parking lift, be it residential or non-residential, and feel that that exemption is obsolete. In short, I think you have a number of other things that can be and should be done with EV at this time, and I encourage you to broaden your agenda for future workshops. Thank you.
Thank you, Bryce. I do want to clarify that this is the second and last agenda for this intervening code cycle. But yes, we do have noted the lift exception and comments that were provided during the HCD workshop, so we are aware of those. And then thank you for sharing the other PG&E information. Bryce, can you email that document to me that one that you were mentioning, the first one?
Absolutely. I will email you the petition that PG&E and SCE made to early adopt, and as well HCD's version of the response. This could be, so HCD has already said no, but for non-res, that answer could be different.
Thank you.
Dwight?
Yeah.
And Lord.
It would be great if you were able to redistribute that letter from SCE and PG&E to everyone in this workshop. I would greatly appreciate it and am interested. As to the suggestion of setting a minimum of 40 kilowatts for DC fast charging, I don't think that would be wise. Just the day before yesterday, I was at a Kia dealership where they were charging a loaner vehicle for me that was from ABB and had an output of 25 kilowatts. That's not unusual for dealerships to do that, to install 25 kilowatts. I also think that 25 kilowatt DC fast charging could have a very viable place in apartment complexes. It doesn't force the apartment complex into a huge, much larger upgrade if they just want to put in one 25 kilowatter, or if they want to put in 10 kilowatters for a very large complex for DC fast charging as part of the substitute process in the code. I don't think it would be wise to limit to set a minimum of 40 kilowatts. And I think that would need a lot more discussion before it was seriously contemplated. That's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dwight.
Mark?
And I just had maybe a clarification from Bryce about the SCE letter. Was the provision that they're allowing, is it MLO panels that they want to upgrade? I missed what you said.
The load calculation methods where you determine the necessary size of an electrical panel changed significantly between the current code and the 2026 code. Essentially, a large body of research by Lawrence Berkeley Laboratory showed that we have been overbuilding panels. We've been putting in more capacity than we needed by quite a lot. So the NFPA has adjusted those formulas for the 2026 code, but we don't get to use that until 2029. If we could start using those formulas early, then we could put in a faster charger on the exact same hardware, existing or new.
Right on. I'd definitely like to see that SDE letter.
Yeah, if we have a method, Kevin or Mr. Rodriguez, to distribute this to this group, is that possible?
I'll have to ask my supervisor, but I don't know that I mean, it's a public document, so I don't necessarily think that's a problem. Maybe you can send a link out or something, not necessarily the letter, but potentially like a link to a website, the PG&E's website.
Yeah, it is a public document, but unless BSC or HCD posted it somewhere, it doesn't have a link.
Got it. Yeah, we'll look into that, Bryce. No guarantees, but yeah, we'll look into that.
Okay, great. Anyone else can reach out to me, Bryce Nesbitt at evplugbox.com if you're interested in that. And I put it in the chat, but there's no chat.
Yeah.
Okay, next hand up is Wendy.
Hi, thanks everyone. This is Wendy Cho from Actera Action for a Healthy Planet and the EV Charging for All Coalition. Thank you so much for giving us all this opportunity to come together and share comments and conversation. This has been really interesting. I did want to lend my support to the issue that Bryce just was talking about with the new research from LBL, and I've been following this great change that's happened with the load calculations, and definitely want everyone to be aware of that. It will help prevent really unnecessary and expensive panel upgrades that are kind of fueling a lot of misconception around EVs and electrification in general. So yeah, thank you so much for bringing that up. And I think that's all my comments for now. Thank you.
Thank you, Wendy.
And Grant?
Yeah, I just wanted to respond to Dwight briefly for the DC fast charger. The minimum that we're recommending is based on the code that has a section that says that you can trade 5 level 2 chargers for 1 DC fast charger. And level 2 chargers are defined in the code at 6.6 kVA. So if we do 6.6 times 5, that's 33 kVA, which would be greater than the minimum of 25 that might be recommended. And this is only for DC fast chargers, so there's still the opportunity for DC chargers that are lower than 40 kilowatts to be installed. It's just when you're trading 5 level 2 chargers for 1 DC fast charger, then the 40 kilowatt would be the recommendation. Thanks.
Thank you, Grant.
Julie?
I guess perhaps unrelated to building standards, but more related to EV chargers, commercial EV chargers. I just wanted to put the reminder out there that all weighing and measuring devices, in this case EV chargers as motor vehicle fuel, do fall under the jurisdiction of weights and measures. And so there are also regulations for type evaluation and accuracy testing, field testing through the counties for all commercial use chargers that are installed. And that's regardless of if they are behind a fence and for private use only, or if they are public. So as long as they are being used with a commercial transaction, they will fall under that jurisdiction and do have additional regulations that are required as well. Just wanted to throw this out.
Thank you, Julie.
Dwight?
Yes, Dwight McCurdy with the National Charging Access Coalition. Grant, thank you very much for that additional explanation. My only concern would be that 25 kilowatt units still be allowed to substitute as part of that code section. So if you were going to do perhaps 225 kilowatters, likewise, I don't think there should be any limitation on the use of 40 kilowatts. But I'm not sure that there should be a minimum. I think the equation would still allow for the use of 25 kilowatt DC fast charging stations, or 40 or 50. I think that flexibility is needed, but I'd be happy to discuss it offline, but I'm not sure that a minimum I'm not sure how it would enhance things. I think that's it. Thank you very much.
Bryce?
So speaking to the DC fast charger minimum, if we're talking new construction, then adding the necessary capacity to meet these minimums is cheap and easy and really should be done. But from a regulatory framework, I want you to consider existing buildings. There will be, for any existing building, a maximum amount that the building can support. And it would be a shame if a regulatory requirement said, hey, you have to put in just this much, and we triggered or went just over the amount, and we had to go and rip out a panel or run new underground lines to the building just because of this arbitrary minimum, where we could have put in a slightly less fast charger. I think that the speed of charging always relates to dwell time, how long the vehicle can be expected to be there, and that there are plenty of high dwell time or medium dwell time applications that could match any kilowatt hour. And that the right thing to do is to ensure that the regulations require that electronic information be available to drivers in advance, meaning that the information that ends up in PlugShare and other apps is correct and accurate. So something like a Better Route Planner can plan a trip, and a Better Route Planner may have you go further to reach a faster charger, or it may say, hey, it's just fine. You can go down to that 20 kilowatt DC fast charger and complete your trip. So I encourage regulatory focus on that information stream being accurate more than an arbitrary charging speed figure. Thank you.
Thanks, Bryce.
There are no other hands raised.
Okay, so, let's see. How to get here? Some additional notes here. So. I'm gonna find the notes. Yeah, so basically, moving forward, this is the last workshop. We are going to be our projected CALGreen code committee, green committee, is slated. So the initial submittals for all the state agencies is gonna be this, like the beginning of December. We're gonna take that initial submittal, and that's gonna be prepped for our Green Code Advisory Committee. I think that's February or March. And then from there, we'll get feedback from the Green Committee and then move on to regulatory process of 45-day and so on. So that we have a cigar timeline on our website. If you are interested in seeing that. Those dates have not been solidified, but it gives you kind of a general timeline of where we are in the rulemaking process. So I just wanted to say that, but you folks can go on to our website and get the exact timeline of where we are in the process. So we're going to be preparing for the initial submittal, moving on to Code Advisory Committee meetings, and then prepping. Yeah, so thank you, Ms. Laura, for doing that. Can you zoom in real quick? Yeah, this is basically the 25 intervening code adoption cycle, and it's available for everybody to view on our website. And so the formal rulemaking process starts when we do our 45-day. So that's kind of on the left-hand side. And we have various Code Advisory Committee meetings that will be held for the various parts of Title 24. So, but anyway, with that said, thank you so much for being here today.
Could you clarify how AB 306 has changed this process? That's very murky to us on the outside here. So AB 306 has changed what the departments can do in an intervening cycle in a seemingly significant way.
Yeah, I can have either Kevin Day or Stoyan Momolov provide a little brief, blurb on that. Kevin, take it away. Explain what's going on with AB, basically what is now AB 130.
Yeah, thanks for the question, Bryce. I know there's been a lot of dialogue on that. So, we're still, internally reviewing the legislation, and hope to provide guidance to the state agencies. It's kind of a two-pronged bill. But it started out as AB 306 as a traditional bill, and then it was quickly transferred into Budget Trailer Bill AB 130 and subsequently passed. It became effective, I think, either June 30th or July 1st. And the short version is it enacts a 6-year moratorium on state and local building standards affecting residential with some, exceptions. But the other side of it is it permanently limits the intervening code cycles for state agency submittals, to Title 24, with also some limitations. So that went into effect as well. That affects all the state agencies. It's not limited to residential. And it's in perpetuity. So the intervening code cycle, starting with this 2025 intervening code cycle, limits the state agencies on the types of proposals that they can submit. And again, we're still reviewing it and coordinating with the state agencies. But if you look at the law, you can see some of the limitations it places. It appears to, the intent appears to be that it wants to, ensure that, the code changes from the agencies are of a clarifying effect, no material change in regulatory effect. There's some exceptions for like what the state fire marshal does in the Part 7 California Wildland Urban Interface Code. There's another exception for anything that the state agencies that have authority for accessibility would promulgate in alignment with federal ADA regulations, things like that. Also, anything of an emergency nature, both at the state and model code level, that that could happen like during a cycle. But aside from that, the agencies are pretty limited. So again, we're looking at those provisions, and trying to wrap our arms around it and hope to provide guidance soon. We're working with the local building officials on guidance to them first because they have, a sooner deadline of October 1st. Yeah, that's kind of the long and short of it. I'm not an attorney, but we are working with ours, to get some clarity on that. So hopefully that helps.
And Dwight, you have your hand raised.
Yeah, actually, it was in regard to the same question. It would be fabulous if you were able, HCD is able to distribute your official position or interpretation of that legislation when you complete it, to distribute it to all of us so that we're able to stay up on it. We may not all have other pathways that keep us fully informed about the latest in your interpretation of the legislation. So that would be great. And I'm just curious, when do you think you might finish your assessment of that legislation?
This is Kevin again with the Building Standards Commission. I can't speak for HCD, but if you read the legislation, for the most part, the Building Standards Commission has been tasked with, implementing, both elements of AB 130 for the most part. It really, further amends our existing programs, for reviewing local amendments to Title 24 ordinances from the cities and counties, and also, our big hat authority where we administer, the Building Standards Commission administers the process for all the other agencies, to administer the Title 24 code development process. So, again, we're working internally to provide an information bulletin that's mainly targeted at the local jurisdictions for the new rules that apply to them in the coming weeks, sometime before, September 30th is our goal. But as far as the state agencies, again, we're still working with them and coordinating with them on how it's going to affect and limit what a state agency can propose in an intervening cycle. So I would suggest, if you haven't already done so, to subscribe to the CBSC mailing list on our contact webpage, and any information bulletins or resources, updates to our guides that are related to the new rules in AB 130, you'll be the first to know. So that would be my recommendation there. Thanks, Dwight.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Kevin.
There are no other hands raised.
Okay. So I'd like to adjourn this meeting. Thank you, everybody, for being here and participating, being part of the process. Yeah, thanks so much. And you've been a great group. And yeah, let's see what happens moving forward. But I appreciate everybody's input today. And thank you so much. Have a great day.
1 hour. Not bad. Oh, yeah. Not bad. Not bad. Yeah.